Well, hey guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Tom.
And we are Bible Fanatics.
Huge Bible fanatics.
Now, we love the Bible, boys and girls, and we love all that God has told us through the Bible.
We're loving it. Hey, like the McDonald's commercial.
That's right.
We're loving it. We're loving it.
Now, boys and girls, in the next 12 weeks, you guys are going to learn about every book in the Bible.
But not us. Because we already know about all the books.
Not to brag or anything, but all right, here we go.
But we do. And don't worry, because in the next few weeks, we'll get you up to speed to where you'll know the books of the Bible just as good as we do.
That's right. Now, boys and girls, there are 66 books in the Bible.
That's right. 39 in the Old Testament, 27 in the New Testament.
That's right. And like us, you'll be able to go through the entire Bible and only count them 1, 2, 3 minutes.
Whoa. Let's do this.
Genesis. It tells us in the beginning God made the world. It also tells us that we messed things up. But in spite of that, God still loved us and decided to stick with us.
That's right. And Exodus is the story of how Moses saved God's people from slavery.
And then in Leviticus, God tells the people how to live so they won't sin.
In Numbers, Moses counted all of God's people.
And then in Deuteronomy, God tells the people how to live without sin again because they just didn't get it.
And then Joshua finally brought the people of God into the Promised Land after they knocked down the walls of Jericho.
Then, here come the judges. Here come the judges. Order in the court. Now, here come the judges.
Then Ruth. Ruth is a typical love story. Girl beats boy, boy dies, girl moves in with boy's mom, and then marries his cousin.
Samuel. Samuel was such a great prophet.
How great was he?
Well, he got 2 books to tell the story of Israel's first 2 kings.
Speaking of kings, 1st and 2nd Kings tells the story of all of Israel's leadership.
And then you have 1st and 2nd Chronicles, tells the story all over again.
That's right. And then Ezra tells the story of how God forgave the people after the kings had led them astray.
And then you have Nehemiah. He rebuilt the wall that protected the city of Jerusalem.
Right. And then Esther saved all of God's people when she went before the king. Girl power!
And then Job. Job, he was a man who had a very bad day.
Don't worry, because in the big book of Psalms is a book of praise right in the middle of the Bible.
Then you have Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, and they're filled with wisdom.
Then the Song of Solomon is all about love.
And then you have Isaiah, and he was a prophet who tried to tell the people they needed to obey God.
That's right. And Jeremiah was a weeping prophet who got his own book and the next book, Lamentations, where he could mourn for God's people.
Then you have Ezekiel. He had some amazing visions from God that he shared with God's people while they were in exile.
That's right. And Daniel was a prophet too, and somewhat of a daredevil. Wait till you hear the story about how he spent the night in the lion's den.
And then there's a minor prophets. You have Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, and then Jonah.
Jonah.
Yes.
Now, that guy was fishing.
Fish, yeah, you get it. And then there's Micah and Nahum.
Habakkuk.
Yes. And then you have Zephaniah. And then
Haggai.
And then you have Zechariah. And then you have Malachi.
Right. And all of those people warned that God would punish them if they kept on sinning. In fact, some of those prophets told of a Messiah that was coming to save us all.
Well, speaking of Messiah, Matthew is all about the Messiah. It's the one man's way of saying, hey, have you met my friend Jesus?
Yeah. Then Mark also wrote a book about, hey, have you met my friend Jesus?
And then there was Luke, who was a doctor, and he said, hey, have you met my friend Jesus?
And then John wrote, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And his name was Jesus. Hey, have you met my friend Jesus?
And then we have Acts. Acts tells us how Jesus' followers started the early church.
That's right. And Paul was one of the early church leaders who wrote letters to all the early churches. He wrote one to the Romans, to the Corinthians, and then one each to the Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, and Colossians.
And then Paul, he also wrote some personal letters too.
Right.
He did two to the Thessalonians, and then he had two to his buddy Timothy. And then one to Titus and
Philemon.
Yes.
That's right. Then he wasn't the only one to write letters, because then there was the book for Hebrews.
That's right. And then one from Jesus' brother James.
That's right. And then two from Peter.
And then three from John.
And then one from Jude.
And then there's Revelation. That's where God tells us how the story ends.
But it's not over yet, because we're still in it.
You're exactly right. All the more reason to get to know the 66 books of the Bible.
Right. You may not be able to get to go through all the books of the Bible in 3 minutes like we just did. But the more you get to know them, the more you get to know Jesus.